My name is Prathamesh Simonkar, and I welcome you all on behalf of Whitebird Trails for our today's session on digital content production and distribution. Our today's guest is a pioneer in media and entertainment industry. His illustrious career spans over 3 decades. He started his journey with advertising in Yellow Pages and later pursued filmmaking in Goldwire Chennai. He entered the Indian television industry at an evolutionary stage in the early 90s as an in charge of India's only English movie channel back then, Star Movies. At Star, he handled various portfolios, including head of movie acquisitions, head of on air promotions, among many other senior executive positions. As the programming in charge of Star, he revamped the whole Indian television by launching shows like Kaun Banega Crorepati and our own indigenous K dramas or daily soaps like Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi. As an entrepreneur, he launched a general entertainment channel called NDTV Imagine. Later, he forayed into digital space by helping Balaji Telefilms launch their own OTT platform, Alt Balaji. And right now, he continues to be a game changer in the arena of digital content by spearheading Applause Entertainment and giving us indeed an applause-worthy, entertaining content in the form of Scam 1992, the Harshad Mehta story. He is none other than Mr. Sameer Nair. Welcome, sir. Welcome to today's session. It's an honor to have you here, sir.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Let me start off by asking, like the Indian television industry, when you joined, it was fairly new and emerging. So how was your experience of handling this Herculean task of, Star Network TV programming and bringing the wave of change with Kaun Banega Crorepati along with daily soaps?
But actually, it's a process. It's a passage of time. So I joined the satellite TV business, if you will, in '94 with Star TV, and I had already been working with advertising and television in a sense before that with Goldwire. So I'd done a lot of work with Doordarshan before that. So I don't know. I mean, you guys are too young, but we used to do a lot of programming on Doordarshan at the time. It was the only channel available, and then later satellite TV came. So I think it's a process of evolution. It's not about any one big moment of change. We had been working in Star TV since 1984, and we had been sort of, developing content, doing different things. And all of that had been going on for some time. We had done a lot of shows before, but Star used to be a joint venture with Zee TV. So we used to be half Hindi and half English. And because of that, I guess at some level, Star Plus, which was the flagship channel, was always a bit sort of hamstrung. We couldn't do very much. So in 2000, in 99, the joint venture split. And Star TV then became an independent channel. And the mandate then was to go 100% Hindi. So that's when we decided that, okay, if we are going to go 100% Hindi, then let's go ahead and do that. So a colleague of mine actually from Hong Kong, Steve Askew, had shown me the tape of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in July 99. So I had seen it before, and I had always thought it's a good idea to do. So in 2000, when the opportunity came, the first thing we said was that let's do Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So that was KBC. That became KBC. Yeah. And along the same time, we had never had any successful soap of a mass entertainment type soap on Star. So we had done a couple of very good shows like Saas and Kora Kagas and Tutu Memen, but they were still not the hardcore, what you can call the hardcore mass entertainment. They were all weekly shows. So all of the 90s, television used to be weekly programs.
Yeah.
So the two big things we did in 2000 was we did, of course, KBC with Amitabh Bachchan and, all of that. And then we did daily soaps with Ekta Kapoor as dailies, not weeklies. So Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi was the first, and then Kahani Ghar Ghar Ki, and then Kasauti, and then, and all of them.
Yeah.
So I think that as a combination sort of worked out quite well. So again, it's not me, it's various people involved in these kind of things. So I had a wonderful team, people like Deepak and Tarun and Shailaja and producers like Siddharth Basu and Ekta Kapoor and Amitabh Bachchan and Priti Irani and Sakshi Tanwar. And so all of these, my old team at Star, the sales team, my colleagues like Peter Mukherjee and Sumo and Raj and Monica. So I think what happens to these things is that it's always, filmmaking is a collaborative art form. Media is a collaborative business. It's not a one man. It's not like making a painting. It's like a very, very intricate and sort of involved thing. So I think it was a context of time. It was a thing of change. It was Star being hamstrung for so many years as a half Hindi, half English kind of service. Now we had the opportunity to go full Hindi. We had something to prove. Sony and Z were already established channels.
Mhm.
They were the leaders in that sense.
Mhm.
So when we did this, I remember in all our presentations, we used to always call Star Plus a distant third. So we were not just third, we were a distant
Mhm.
third. So it was Z was, I think, 12, Sony was 11, and we were 2,
Okay.
sort of relative share.
Mhm.
We went from distant third to absolute number one, and then stayed there for about 8 or 10 years. So I think, yeah, I mean, it was exciting times. I was younger then. This is 20
Mhm.
years ago you're talking about. So
Yeah, yeah. Because I still remember vividly, like during my school days, I was like in eighth and ninth. I used to discuss like daily soaps with my friends in recess.
hmm,
Like why did Smriti like the Tulsi kill his son Ansh, and I clearly remember that scene where he was flying in the air, and we used to dissect the whole thing. So
right,
there was some different kind of craze at that time
right.
for those shows. So yeah, and so like so you had a successful stint at Star, and you turned an entrepreneur and launched your own general entertainment channel. So what was your motivation behind launching your own channel like NDTV Imagine?
Well, actually, at the time there was a lot of churn and excitement in the world that was going on. There was a lot of
Hmm.
changes that were happening. I had been in Star for a long time. We were looking to do
Hmm.
something else. I had known the Roys and NDTV for quite a while because we used to do work with them in the 90s on Star itself. Star News
Hmm.
originally started off as an NDTV program. Later,
Hmm.
it became a channel. And later, NDTV 24/7 was the channel that happened much later. So it
Hmm.
was just one of those meeting of mind that we decided, let's do it. The market was good. It was very exciting time. So,
Hmm.
in a group of people left Star and, went and started NDTV Imagine. It was good.
Hmm.
I think we had a great time. What happened, of course, was there were a whole combination of events that happened shortly after that.
Hmm.
So we launched NDTV Imagine in January 2008. In April 2008, the first IPL happened.
Yeah.
That was the first storm that happened.
Hmm.
Then
Hmm.
July 2008, Colors launched, and
Hmm.
September 2008, Lehman Brothers happened. Okay.
Oh.
So it was 2008 was quite a dramatic year in that sense.
Hmm.
So, but I think for me personally and for the team, it was a wonderful learning experience because, one is coming from the big success of Star, we have,
Hmm.
sort of to prove ourselves again in a way.
Hmm.
But also the big learning experience because, things are not so easy and, things go wrong, things become difficult. So you
Hmm.
have to sort of maintain team. Money became tight, the whole market collapsed. There was a global recession that occurred. So there were many. It
Hmm.
was an exciting time. But I
Yeah.
suppose you heard the phrase that calm seas don't make a great sailor. So you need
Hmm.
stormy seas to sort of
Yeah.
do all of that. But we did some good things. I think I'd imagine we bought Ramayana and therefore mythology as a daily into prime time. Uh,
Hmm.
we did shows like OA Friday with Farhan Akhtar.
Hmm.
We did Rakhi Ka Swayamvar.
Hmm.
We did 2, 3 Swayamvars after that.
Yeah.
So there was a whole bunch of very, very interesting programming. And
Hmm.
it was for me personally, it was an interesting management period.
The catalog of NDTV Imagine was really good, like the different kind of shows. Although like non-fiction also, I remember there was this one show with late Saroj Khan ma'am, where
Yes,
she used to teach dance. That
dance.
thing is now on YouTube.
Yes,
So NDTV Imagine was kind of way ahead of its time.
right. And we also did another one called
Hmm.
Ras Pichle Janam Ka with
Hmm.
remember that
Yeah, yeah.
with the
I
past
think
life regression.
Ravi Kishan sir was there, right?
Yeah,
The host. Yeah, yeah. So some shows were really ahead of the time at that time.
we were doing also another show at that time called Angrezi Mein Kehte Hain, which
Hmm.
was, the insight was that, there's a large audience out there that wants to learn English and
Hmm.
that we should sort of, do a mind your language kind of show in that sense.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah.
Non-fiction space was really amazing in
Yeah.
NDTV Imagine. Yeah. Okay, so now you transition from television to digital slowly. Like you became the CEO of Balaji Telefilms, which are majorly producing daily soaps as well as this foray into films. And how did this idea, like, what inspired you to foray into digital space with Old Balaji?
Well, Ekta and me have been working together from a long time. I know her since 2000,
Okay.
maybe since 99. And Ekta has always been an extremely prolific and very, very sort of a strong creator.
Hmm.
Has wonderful stories, and she's been one of India's biggest producers. Um, Often it's been said that if Ekta Kapoor takes all her shows that are on different channels and puts it on one channel, that channel would be the number one channel.
Hmm.
But unfortunately, she never started a channel, and that never happened for her.
Hmm.
When around 2013, we were in touch, and they called me and asked me would I like to be an advisor, be
Hmm.
part of the advisory board. Since I know them so well, I said okay. And then it sort of graduated to sort of joining them in 2014 to
Hmm.
start a new course for Balaji. So Balaji itself is an extremely strong and successful television producer and a film.
Hmm.
But this
Yeah.
matter always was that Ekta wanted her own channel, and
Hmm.
that should be something that should be done. What we decided then was that rather than go down the channel route, which is a bit
Hmm.
last century now, we
Hmm.
should really do a 21st century move and go OTT. So that is how the idea of Alt Balaji came up.
Okay.
So we said that, listen, let's not start a TV channel, but let's
Hmm.
start a OTT app which will create streaming content and premium content, and then let's go
Hmm.
in that direction. And this will be, owned by Balaji, and it will be Balaji Ikta's own channel, so to say.
Hmm.
And the thought with Alt Balaji was that Balaji has a company called Alt Entertainment, which makes all the
Hmm.
movies. So
Hmm.
Balaji Alt Entertainment has made movies like Shaitan and um, you know Dave D,
Yeah.
things like
Yeah.
that. So they've done really freaky stuff. They did Ragini
Hmm.
MS, the first one.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the idea was to take Alt and then take the name
Hmm.
Balaji, because Balaji is such a famous name, and
Hmm.
create a platform, which we did,
Hmm.
and create brand new content for it.
Okay.
Content which is created by us and owned by us.
Okay.
That was the idea. And in fact, at that time, there was already, Netflix and Amazon had started making noise in the market. There was
Hmm.
Hotstar was there. And
Hmm.
the real insight in that was that, there is a market which is a very, very up-end premium market, which is
Hmm.
the market that watches Netflix and Amazon, right?
Hmm.
And then there
Yeah.
is your TV market, which is the daily soaps and
Yeah.
all of that. So there is
Hmm.
a world between Narcos and Nagin.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that is the world that Alt Balaji was going after. That
Okay.
in between world. It's a very big world. It is
Hmm.
that you don't want to watch Narcos, but you don't want to
Hmm.
watch Nagin, right?
Hmm.
So then what do you want to watch? And I think in a way, in the last 5, 7 years, from Alt Balaji and now on to Applause, that's the
Hmm.
world I've been focusing on. The
Hmm.
world between Narcos and Nagin.
Nagin. Okay. And there were a lot of creative liberties for you, right? In Alt Balaji, since there was no censorship at place at
Well,
that time.
censorship is not a thing, because I think finally the audience becomes the biggest censor, and
Hmm.
the audience becomes the biggest regulator. So there's a
Hmm.
limit to what you can and should do.
Hmm.
So as creators, you are required to be responsible and sensible.
Hmm.
The idea is really you're pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, also the kind of content that creates created is dependent on the medium, right?
Hmm.
So there are many things you can't do on TV, because
Hmm.
TV depends on mass viewership, it depends on ratings, and therefore it
Hmm.
tends to become more homogenized, right?
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
whereas on OTT, what happens is that you have niche viewership. You may like
Right.
something, somebody else may not like something, but both can coexist. So it allows you to be more edgy. It allows you
Hmm.
to be more radical. It allows you to be more controversial, right?
Hmm.
So it's only that. It's more medium connected. It's not anything else. So all the streaming platforms are similar in that nature.
Hmm.
And so we also, I mean, we pushed new boundaries. We did some new shows. I think there was a very nice show called Romil and Jugal. There was Dave Double D. Uh,
Hmm.
there were different shows. There was
Yeah.
Ghost, there was Test Case. So I think there was a whole bunch of very interesting shows that we released at launch.
Yeah. That too in premium Indian content space.
Premium Indian content, because that is the space between
Hmm.
Nagin
Yeah.
and Narcos.
Yeah. Right. Since we are talking about digital space, it will be unfair if I don't talk about Scam 1992, because that has created a major storm in the digital content arena last year with awards, accolades, and applause. With
Right.
awards like Dada Saheb, it got the best web series at Dada Saheb Phalke Film Festival Award.
Right.
So this applause entertainment, this phenomenon of digital content disruptor, how did this happen? Like applause as a company, people knew about applause before, and since Scam came, and everyone was talking about this applause entertainment, but many of them didn't knew, like they have also produced many shows. So can you tell us about applause?
So Applause, see, as a company, I met Mr. Birla in December 2016 while I was still at Alt Balaji. And
Okay.
we were talking about what else to do next, and we got talking, and then I said that I have this idea of setting up a studio of this kind that creates premium content and in fact all kinds of content. So we sort of got along, and he said that sure, make a plan and let's do it. So that's how this idea started. Applause as a company actually has already been in existence since 2006 or 2003. And as in its older avatar, it had made the movie Black. So it was already there. So when Mr. Birla and me were talking about setting up this new company and what name we would give it, I asked him, "Do you still have the name of Applause?" So he
Mhm.
said, "Yeah, I think Applause is still there as a name." So I said, "Let's use that because it's a good name. So let's use that." So that's how we started. So the plan really with Applause is something I had been wanting to do since '99, which is
Okay.
to set up a studio. I've always wanted to have a studio,
Hmm.
be a studio producer.
Okay.
It's a different matter that I, made a lot of progress in Star and got promoted, and so I went down a little bit of a management track. But
Hmm.
otherwise, this has been an old sort of passion of mine. So when I got the chance, I did it. So Applause has been set up primarily for that. We are a very small team. We are about 40, 50 people.
Hmm.
Work in a hub and spoke model. We
Okay.
are a creative and commercial and marketing heart. So that's what we are. So we do
Okay.
creative, we do commercial, and we do the monetization of the product. We finance
Okay.
the whole thing. And then the execution, we work with a variety of spokes. So we work with production houses, directors, writers, talent, wonderful people. And
Okay.
we have a very collaborative way of working and we create. So we've done now about 20 series. Scam became the most famous, but we've done
Hmm.
a lot. So we've
Yeah.
done
Yeah.
Justice, we've done Hostages, we've done The Office, we
Hmm.
did Hush Smoke, we did Mind the Malhotras, we did, Madhuri Talkies, so much
Hmm.
Bhokal. So there are a lot
Hmm.
of shows we've done.
Yeah.
And this is the way we work. We work with different creative people, different talent. We back interesting ideas. We finance the development, we finance the production, and then we license it to platforms. And
Okay.
the insight was that the market is growing.
Hmm.
There's a huge sort of appetite for this content, and we
Hmm.
should be able to play a small role in fulfilling that.
So at Applause, sir, what exactly is the process? So if someone aspires to become a content creator and he wants to foray into like enter into digital domain, so what is the process of pitching, development, and production at Applause? Like if someone wants to pitch a story to Applause or wants to work in your team, so how exactly you pick stories or select the the creators
We
for
follow
development?
2 or 3 simple sort of principles. So one is, there's written material. So there's a book or
Hmm.
something which you can take and then adapt. So like Scam is
Okay.
a book, right?
Yeah.
Scam is from Switches Daral's book. The
Hmm.
other thing we do is that we look at some international formats and we look to
Hmm.
adapt them into the Indian context. So a criminal
Hmm.
justice or a hostages is an adaptation.
Hmm.
Then there is original writing. People come to us with ideas. So like something
Okay.
like a Madhuri Talkies or something like a Hasmukh is an
Hmm.
original idea that somebody has
Yeah.
come written that idea and said, "This is my idea. This is what we want to do."
Hmm.
In all the 3 cases, it has to go from idea to the development, which is the scripting, the screenplay, the dialogues, and then the casting, and then putting the whole thing together and then getting into production.
Okay.
So usually the way people approach us is that they write to us, they write to me, or they write to Applause. I mean, there are not different ways of getting in touch with us. And
Hmm.
just reach out and pitch your idea. I mean, we are always open to listening to new ideas. We have a commissioning team in place that
Okay.
only does this for a living, which is listen to new ideas, new pitches from different people.
Hmm.
And then if it's good enough, see what happens is that you might have a great idea, right? But I
Yeah.
think process from idea to screen is
Hmm.
quite a long and difficult process. It
Yeah.
takes 18 months to do it, and you
Okay.
have to write it, and you have to get it, you have to do it correctly, and you have to improve on it, and all of that. So I think
Hmm.
that sometimes people don't have the patience for it. Many people think that I have an idea and it should be on screen, or aisa nahi hota. Scam
No.
we had been working on for almost 2.5 years.
Oh.
So from the time we started, first time when I bought the book of Scam to the finally
Hmm.
when you all saw it on screen was
Hmm.
almost 2.5 years. So
Okay.
it takes time. All these things take time to do.
Okay. Okay. And since we are talking about adaptations, sir, so like Applause is touted to be one of its kind content creation and IP acquisition studio. So you acquire a lot of rights, IPs for international shows, along with adaptations of books. So is there any inherent pressure, like there will be comparison with the original shows, like The Office has been widely popular in America,
Hmm.
and you are adapting it in Indian context. So is there any inherent pressure while adapting it, or
Not really. Actually, the shows we pick for adaptation are shows that we believe can travel. We are
Okay.
shows that believe can have a universal appeal and can be told in a different sort of a context and setting. Um,
Okay.
then apart from that, see, a lot of these shows have not even been seen by the wider mass audience. So when we
Hmm.
are talking about the world between Narcos and Nagin, mostly, if you take the Office, the US Office,
Hmm.
the Narcos audience has seen it.
Yeah.
Nobody else has seen it actually, right?
Right.
So, I mean, no 1 million people would have seen The Office. So when
Right.
we're
Right.
making the show, we're making it for a larger Indian audience. So I
Hmm.
don't think that's ever a stress. The key is
Okay.
in being able to adapt it well, to adapt it in our context, in our milieu. Some things work, some things don't. So that's what we do.
Okay. And what about books? Since Scam 1992, if I remember, people didn't knew about Scam 1992 until the teaser dropped with the background music.
Right.
And there was this another movie, if I'm allowed to take the name,
Cool.
Big Bull, yeah. So it was based on a similar plot or premise. So is there also a comparison factor? Because there is another show produced by Applause, Avrodh, The Siege Within. It is
Right.
also based on Uri attacks, and there is also feature film
Right.
of the same plot or premise. So is there any pressure over there? Like you are handling with the same plot and premise, and you have to you have to do a long format thing, like 10 episode series, and where you get to develop the characters, whereas this is a 2 hour window where you have to flesh out all the story. So is there any pressure while developing same ideas or
Not
same plot
really. When we
points?
were doing Avrodh, for example, we bought the rights to the book India's Most Fearless, which is written
Hmm.
by Varun and Rahul Singh. And we were developing that. In the meantime, they went and did a fictional version of Uri, the Uri
Okay.
attack, the movie, which is
Okay.
fine because we were doing a different series. Similarly,
Hmm.
on Scam, we bought the book rights and we were making Scam 1992. And we
Hmm.
were making that. Suddenly, along the way, they started making Big Bull.
Hmm.
But again, I think a 2.5 hour movie and a 10-hour series are
Hmm.
totally different animals. And they
Right.
are delivering different experiences and you are watching it for different reasons.
Right.
So, like, I mean, in a series like ours, you won't have an item song, right?
Hmm.
But in a
Right.
movie like that, you'll have to do an item song. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just different things. So, no,
Hmm.
there's no pressure really. I mean, there's nothing like that. See, you know what? The beauty of the whole creative business and the storytelling business is that
Hmm.
people are eager to listen to stories, right? People
Right.
want to listen to good stories that are well told. So, I think everyone should focus on um, telling a good story. You know,
Okay.
I think that should be the aim. You know, that how can I tell a good story? So if you tell
Hmm.
a good story, you will have an audience for it.
Okay.
Sometimes, many times what they do is that you remember there used to be one flurry of Bhagat Singh movies got made.
Yeah.
Two, three
With
Bhagat
Ajay Devgan sir and Bobby
Singh, right?
Deol
So
at
different
the
people
same
do
time.
that, and the movies do okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a
Hmm.
different way of telling, different actors, different cast. Different. In the US, they are always every 10, 15 years they are rebooting the franchise, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
Batman has been rebooted
Hmm.
times, but you're
Yeah.
still watching it because it's a reboot. It's told again. It's told differently.
Hmm.
It's a new interpretation, and it comes like when you saw the Joker, the movie. The
Hmm.
Joker as a character has been in the Batman series from the 1960s, right?
Yeah.
So, but this is a new interpretation, the origin
Right.
story of Joker. So it's
Hmm.
interesting. So there's no
Okay.
pressure like that.
And so, since you mentioned different shows, like many of the Applause shows are on different platforms. Like Hasmukh is on Netflix, Scam is on Sony Live, Raspberry is on Amazon Prime, and Mind Malotaras is also on Amazon Prime. Bhokal and Hello Mini is on MXPR. So, how does you pitch? Like, how do you choose a right platform for a particular show, or distribute it across different platforms?
We don't choose. We are not
Okay.
choosers. So we make
Oh.
the shows and then we pitch it to different platforms, and then
Okay.
different platforms select us. So it's not
Okay.
so much about me choosing as someone selecting, right?
Okay.
There's a lot of the sort of credit for picking shows has to go to the platform. Platforms see it, platforms like it, platforms think it fits in their portfolio and their mix, and then they take.
Hmm.
When we are making shows, we are broadly and always trying to make shows for the audience, right?
Hmm.
So we think there's an audience for a comedy like Minds of Militants. Like,
Right.
good thing that a company like Amazon recognizes that and says that yes, I think this works for us, give it to us. So it's that
Okay.
kind of a relationship. So we don't pick platforms, but as time is passing, we are also gradually understanding each
Hmm.
platform has its own identity. Each
Right.
platform has its own sort of style. So like MX Player is racier, more heartland, more
Hmm.
main, right? Netflix tends to be more classy, more international. I
Hmm.
mean, there's different types of things.
Right.
Now Hotstar with Disney Plus has become more family in that.
Hmm.
So it's just different these things.
And so, like, while picking the OTT platform, so as you said, like, we don't choose the platform. So do you have something in mind, like this show might be great for Netflix, like it'll get a more global audience? Let's say, for example, Scam. So if
But
has it occurred to you, like, have you thought, like, what if we have pitched Scam to Netflix? The popularity Sony Live gained after Scam, or the subscribers Sony Live gained after Scam, was tremendous, like last year. And similarly for Hasmukh, like Veerdas has an international reputation in the global market. So there is this market where people recognize Veerdas, so they will go and watch Hasmukh. So do you think, like do you explore different platforms while pitching? Like you said, you.
we do that. I mean, we
Hmm,
always are talking to everyone, but honestly,
hmm,
our philosophy is not to get into any kind of a bidding war.
okay,
So it's really about who calls it first. So
okay,
we show something like we'll send a trailer to 3, 4 platforms, and
okay,
whoever calls it first takes it. So it's not really a bidding war. It's not all of those. You see, the market is very young at this stage. It's only
okay.
3, 4 years old. We've only just started. We just started creating program. I think that the scope for creating content of this kind, of creating this premium content, is huge. You know,
Hmm,
if currently India is making say 20 or 30 shows a year
hmm,
collectively as a
right,
market, I think we can make 500 shows a year. I mean, because the audience is there to consume it. You're talking
right.
about Hindi, you're talking about all the languages, you're talking
Hmm,
about different regional languages, you're talking about different genres, you're talking about
hmm,
something comedy, kids,
hmm,
mythology, historical, rom-com. There are
hmm.
so many young adult, scary, thriller, horror. I think the sort of opportunity is so big that the focus should be now on creating more content.
And so, what have been your key takeaways? Like, Applause has produced a lot of shows in different genres, like be with crime thrillers like Criminal Justice and Hostages, mockumentary like Office, adult comedy like Rasbari, gritty thrillers like Bhokal and Andekhi. So, what have been your key takeaways while working, even like political drama like Maya Nagri, City of Dreams? So, what have been your key takeaways since you're working on different genres? In TV, there you are sticking to one format like family drama or TV soaps. Here, you are have this possibilities of exploring different genres and different storylines at the same time. Simultaneously, there will be projects you'll be working on. So, what are the key takeaways while working on different
Well,
genres?
key takeaway meaning I'm like a kid in a candy shop. I'm really happy to
Okay.
be able to do this.
Mhm.
I'm really, grateful and excited that
Mhm.
this is what I always wanted to do, to, run and operate a studio that can do so many diverse things at the same time. It's great fun because, one is you're working with different talent.
Mhm.
A daily soap is a daily soap. It gets started and it goes on,
Right.
right? This is, you make it. It's almost, these are like extended movies that we are making, right? So each thing is like 2 or 3 movies that get made.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's a wonderful experience. You work with different talent. You learn different things from different talent. So it's different working with Nagesh Kuknur. It's different working with Hansal Mehta. It's different working with Sudhir Mishra. It's different
Mhm.
working with Nikhil Advani. It's different working with Veer Das. It's different. These are all different people, right?
Right.
And each one brings a different sort of understanding of cinema, a different understanding of storytelling to the table. So we at Applause are in a very unique position where we get to sort of absorb a variety of different ideas, right? And we also get to now build gradually our own algorithm, right?
Okay.
Now, having worked with so many people and having done so many shows, and now soon we're going to do movies and documentaries, we are
Oh,
working
wow.
with different people. So when we work with different people, we learn from these people. So I think the biggest learning for Applause has been the learning, right? That we work with different people. So we learn, like even production wise, we work with Bani Jay, we work with BBC, we work with Saul, we work with MA. So when we work with different production companies, again,
Mhm.
there's a learning, right? Different people approach things in a different way. And
Right.
so that helps us. So, I mean, in a sense, we have been, increasing our own institutional knowledge of, both creatively and commercially and production wise. And of course, then, when you work with platforms, you get a lot of understanding from platforms. See, because
Right.
everything boils down to how do you perceive your audience? Who
Right.
is this audience? Like the key questions are, uh, who are you making this show for, and why this show and why now, right? So why should
Okay.
we tell this story now? Why not next year? Why not last year? And
Mhm.
like, why this story? Is there another story to be told? And finally, who do you think is going to see it? So I think these are important questions. And so we keep asking ourselves that. So, I mean, I think one big learning of all of this has been that this constant sort of trying to understand what should we make and why would you see it,
Okay.
right?
And so, since you have also worked on regional shows, like what is the significance of regional shows? Because you have done Bhojpuri show like Madhuri Talkies, as well as Tamil shows like Iruduruvam, Vadam, and Kurudikalam on MX. So, how much active role play the regional content play in the digital OTT space?
I think the market is growing very rapidly. So I think already in Bengal, Hoichoi is doing very well. I
Hmm.
think in Telugu, Aha does very well. I think in both Tamil Nadu and Kerala, there is Sun Next and Asianet and Yup TV.
Hmm.
I think the market will only grow now, right?
Okay.
Amazon has a lot of Tamil content on it. So
Hmm.
I think going forward, these are very important languages. I mean, all of these 4 or 5 languages are very, very important languages. They've got very, very big audiences. They've got industries. They've got television industries. So they should have an OTT industry as well. So I think the opportunity is very big. The numbers are a little smaller from an
Hmm.
absolute cost and revenue point of view. But I
Hmm.
think the opportunity exists, and I think it'll really grow.
Moreover, sir, the like people have become like the audience have become language agnostic and they prefer dub content also. So there is no language barrier right now. Like there are subtitles available and there are shows which are dubbed on different platforms. So it's all about content, right? It's not
It's
about
all,
language.
it's all about content. See, language does matter because
Hmm.
there's a difference between subtitle and dubbing, right?
Hmm.
So subtitle is that you're still seeing it in the original language and in the original context, but
Hmm.
you are reading the subtitle, right?
Right.
Dubbing is that you are trying to make me believe that I am watching a Hindi show when I'm not, right?
Right.
So there's a difference, right?
Hmm.
It's a different thing watching a Tamil show with English subtitles and watching a Tamil show dubbed in Hindi.
Hmm.
That's very different.
Yeah.
So that is why sometimes when you see foreign shows and they're dubbed in Hindi,
Hmm.
okay. But you can see a foreign show with English subtitles.
Right.
So that's just a thing.
Hmm.
But I think the importance of telling our own stories and telling our own stories in a local milieu, in a local context with our own actors and our own sort of
Hmm.
is what the market needs. I mean, India is a giant country, 1.37 billion people, multiple languages, some 900 million mobile phones, 400 million 4G connections, cheapest data in the world, smart screens everywhere. It's
Right.
a it's a big opportunity, and you guys should all act on it.
And so, what role does self-regulation play while developing content? Since there is no active censorship right now, and there is some self-regulation, like there are some guidelines that needs to be followed. So, is there like does it hamper the process of development in certain way? Because you can go to certain extent while developing certain topics or certain plot. Do
I
you
think
think
a lot of this comes with your own sensibility, right? I think as a creator, you are you are responsible and
Hmm.
you are sort of aware. You have to be aware, right, of what can or cannot be done, right? Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it.
Hmm.
So I think that comes as a process of being self-aware, of being sensitive, of being responsible, of being intelligent. Also, the other thing is that any of these, like any amount of violence, sex, skin,
Hmm.
abuse, any of that, um, is not the story, right?
Right.
It's not the story. So
Right.
that's just being provocative for the sake of being provocative. And
Right.
that you can't ever. I mean, see, if it has to be sex, then there's anyway porn available. So what are
Right.
you achieving with that? So I think what we try and follow is self-regulation is more about telling a great story, getting
Hmm.
a point across, and not trying to sort of depend on these kind of formulas to get audiences. So if you're telling a good story, you're telling a good story. That's it. Like TVF tells such wonderful stories, right?
Hmm.
So they've
Right.
been doing it for some time. A lot of the TVF shows are such delightful, heartwarming shows. Now you
Right.
don't need anything beyond that, right? I mean, you don't need to honestly put one dance number or a this or a that. So I mean, all
Hmm.
of those we've done, they are very, very core to story,
Right.
and I think that's what needs to be done.
Moreover, sir, we look up to American shows or foreign shows, like they go to certain extent while with abuse or violence or nudity and stuff like that. or maybe drugs and substance use. So we also see like we are not doing these kind of stuff, or India is falling behind these. We are not pushing the boundary. So there is some, I think there is a comparison factor. Don't you think? Like people compare with other shows, like they did this in the year that like Game of Thrones did nudity and everything in 2009, that too on HBO, that too on television network, and we are still facing issues with prime time slots. We can't show certain things, and that too with OTT, people were expecting, okay, there won't be any censorship, but still, slowly due to this self-regulation, there are some stringent laws which are being in place.
Yeah, but
So,
that's not a fair comparison because you're also
hmm,
comparing it with a first world country. They've been at it for a longer time. I mean, by that same logic, then they got more hospital beds and they got the vaccine also, right?
right,
The nudity of Game of Thrones is a
hmm,
minor problem in this thing.
hmm,
So
right,
I don't think that's a fair comparison. I think the correct way is that you live in a particular country and you live in a particular cultural context, right?
right,
In our cultural context, there are some things that are acceptable and some things that are not.
okay,
That's all. So there's not much more to it. We should not unnecessarily try and force a Western culture onto an
hmm,
Indian ethos. There's no need for that. You know, Finally, at the end of the day, my consumer, my audience is an Indian, right? And
hmm,
an Indian living in India. I'm not. My aim will never be to try and make this Indian consumer into an American.
right,
And if I wish to tell American stories, then I should go to America. Why am I here?
hmm, yeah,
And saying that, oh, but India should become modern. I
hmm,
don't think so. I
hmm,
think India will grow at its own pace and it will change. And it is happening. We are telling different stories. And some stories we tell quite well. So, like when
hmm,
we did Criminal Justice was made on HBO. It was
yeah,
called Night Off.
night off,
We
yeah,
made Night Off into Criminal Justice with Vikrant Massey, Jackie Shroff, and Pankaj Tripathi. See?
right.
So it does
E-
work.
Right. Even Your Honor was also done by Showtime, right? If I'm
So
not
now
wrong.
it is now being done by Showtime. We had
Okay.
Your Honor is
Uh,
a Israeli show which we did the first adaptation, and now America has done the second adaptation.
okay, okay. Right. So what are the viewership? Like in television, there is this viewership data which is readily available on Bar, and there are these ratings. So streamers don't tend to usually release their data, like how much people have watched this show. Until unless there is a storm like Scam, we get to know like this is 9.8 IMDb rated shows, and everybody's giving 4-star, 5-star reviews. But
Right,
some shows like Andekhi was popular, Hasmukh was widely popular.
right.
So there is no significant, measuring system like why is this popular or why people are watching it. Because in Netflix there is this percentage chart like 98% match or top one, top 10 today. But how do you like there is no since there is no rating system or viewership calculator, how do you decide like whether we should progress with the next season or whether we should develop content with in this genre, since there is no structured format or structured viewership pattern available in OTT?
Well, actually, the platforms know. It's not
Okay.
that platforms don't know. The
Hmm.
platforms know everything. They have way more data than TV ever had. Right?
Okay.
The thing is, they don't share it and they don't make it
Right.
public. So that's fair because they are anyway subscriber-driven platforms, so they don't depend on advertising. So they don't need to share that data. But as when we are creating content for them and we are working as partners, there is a degree of collaboration and understanding. They give us a whole bunch of learnings, what worked, what didn't, all of that. And
Okay.
when you get a second season, it means the first season did well. That's why you're doing the second season. And then also when you're watching all the different shows on the platform, you listen to the social chatter, you listen to all this noise and the signals that come out of it. You hear what people are talking about it. So they are also give you some sort of directional signs. But honestly, I'm not a platform, I'm a studio. But if you
Hmm.
speak to anybody from a platform, they know everything.
Okay.
They know everything. They know when you saw, what you saw, when you stopped, when you started, which device you watched it on. Did you watch it on your home? Did you watch it on the way to work? So there's no lack of data. It's just that they're not telling you about
Like the audience, but the studio might be knowing the people who are backing the project
it.
or the creators.
They share what they want to.
Okay, a short summary like
Yeah,
these
yeah,
things
yeah.
work, these didn't. So in next season, you can do this and you can't
Yeah,
do that. So
of course. Yeah,
something in that form.
collaborative thing. Yes.
Okay, okay. And so, are there any deadlines in like developing content? Since TV in the weekly format, there are deadlines. Like weekly, you have to churn out 5 episodes, 6 episodes. So in OTT, you get a like a 10 episode thing or a 5 episode, 6 episode, like in a long format, hourly basis. So are there any deadlines or are there any timings like this show should come at this time or this weekend or something like that? Are there any deadlines or any specific
That
time?
basically streamers create their own calendars, annual calendars. Everyone
Okay.
has to release at least whatever they should. If they try and release a show a month, then that's
Mhm.
shows. If they try and release a show a fortnight, that's 24 shows, right?
Okay.
Every show needs its own space for marketing, needs its own space for getting a viewership. Everyone is trying to build up a big catalog, so
Mhm.
you can have more shows. And no, these shows get produced like extended movies. So from the day you start to finally it's ready, and then you give it, and then it comes on. So it's never every Monday you need a show, because that's not what we are doing.
Right.
So it'll be ready when it's ready. But of course, time and money cost money. So
Mhm.
I mean, if you go on and on making it and don't ever finish making it, then
Mhm.
that's also expensive. So I
Right.
think it's a sort of inbuilt discipline. Also, sometimes a good creative idea needs to see light of day soon, right? So you must finish it. You go on making something for 5, 6 years, there's no
Mhm.
interest left in it anymore. You know? So you got to sort of get on with it and do it.
Okay. And so since you said like there are certain time span like you should come up with the idea like for scam it came there was a teaser in a short span you came up with the trend suddenly it disrupted the whole market but whereas taking name the Big Bull they like released their poster and people knew about it okay it is related to some stock scam so you had some competition already in the market so was did that act as a deadline because they were already there people knew okay it was a movie backed by a production house Ajay Devgan was backing the film and Vijay Bachchan was going to star in it. Whereas you were secretly working on this mammoth of a show,
Well,
which
not secretly. We had
hmm,
announced, we had bought the book, we had announced a show, and we were working on it in any case. So
hmm,
I think by the time, I mean, we had already finished shooting, we were in post production, and we were just
okay,
towards our release date. So
okay,
we had there was no real competition in that sense. Again, as I told you, that completely different things. A
hmm,
2-hour movie and a 10-hour series are different animals.
right,
So it would be wrong to compare them.
right. Moreover, the pandemic, the viewership came in a lot, right?
During the pandemic, of course, because everyone
Yeah.
was locked up in their houses, the whole acceptance of this new medium was there. A
Hmm,
lot of people tried it out, and then a lot more people sort of got onto it. So I
right.
think it benefited us a lot.
And majorly the content played the role. It was
Yeah,
all about the content. Yeah.
finally, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, behind the screen of glass, you have to press play, and then
Hmm,
someone must play. Right now, how
right.
it plays, what happens, you are never. So now, how we say that Netflix is such a wonderful service, it works so well, right?
Hmm,
And something else doesn't work so well. That's the extent of what you know. You might be an engineer, maybe you know more, but for
hmm,
your large average audience, it is it works or it doesn't work
right.
it. And when it works, you don't really stop and applaud Netflix for its great engineering.
Hmm,
Yeah, you're still commenting about the shows, right? So Netflix
so,
still, after all its wonderful engineering, has to still give you a great show. Because if they give you a bad show, then what a bad show, and you put it off.
hmm,
So what
right.
happens to the engineering, right?
Right.
So you need the content. So I think yeah, people watch content. That's what they do, right?
So, what about the viewership since the pandemic? Like everybody slowly started to move towards OTT, and like since the shootings were stalled last year, so majority of the audience shifted to OTT, and there has been increase in the repeat viewing pattern. Moreover, last year I remember Hostages aired on Star Plus, if I'm not wrong, the first season.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah. So, is there any possibility of seeing some OTT shows which are having their own TV channels? Like Sony has Sony Live has Sony, and Star has Hotstar. So, is there a possibility of seeing some shows to fill the airtime in
It
the
could be.
current
I mean, they
scenario?
can choose to do that. If they decide to do that, they definitely can. But it will be like if you take, say, Scam, if you take 10 episodes of Scam, you can either play it
Hmm.
as a weekly, but that
Hmm.
will take 10 weeks to go. And you can play it as a daily, it will be over in
Hmm.
10 days. So it's
10 days.
really a choice, and they can do it. I mean, definitely. I mean, there's nothing to say that you can't do it.
Hmm.
But I think platforms are trying to keep the content exclusive to the platform to build the case for the platform. If suddenly content is available everywhere, then why would you go
Hmm.
to Sony? Right?
Right.
Because then you would say that I'll wait. It जब Sony पे आएगा तब देखेंगे. So,
Hmm.
so you want to keep content exclusive, and you want to create this habit of binge viewing and watch everything on a weekend and finish it off and tweet
Hmm.
about it and talk about it. You want to do that.
can you tell us like about the upcoming project of Applause Entertainment? Because I've read about it and I'm pretty excited for most of the projects. So can you tell the audience about the upcoming projects? And you said like you're pouring the movies also. So can you please tell us about that?
So we are doing different things in the series business. We're going to be making the Indian adaptation of Kauda.
Yeah.
So that's happening. We are in production as we speak. Of course, now they're in lockdown, so we stopped. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of season twos. So there is season two of Andekhi, season two of Your Honor, season two of Road, season two of Scam. We are doing
Scam.
we are doing the Abdul Karim Telgi story as
Hmm.
season two of the franchise. We're going to do a season three of Criminal Justice. So
Wow.
that's a brand new story that's being written. It will have Pankaj Tripathi going forward as a lawyer and a different story that's there. We've just finished producing a show called Call My Agent, which is a French show, which we've made as an adaptation. So that's ready now. We're doing a new show, an original written show by Nikhil Advani called Kaun Banegi Shikarwati, which is about a sort of mad, dysfunctional king, one of the Rajas in Rajput Rajas,
Okay.
whose whole sort of little kingdom is under a lot of stress and difficulty. And he and his daughters have to bring it out of the problem. So it's like a satirical comedy. It's quite funny.
Okay.
So there are different things. I mean, we are going to be making the Indian version of Luther. It's
Right.
called
Right. Yeah.
Luther and it has Ajay Devgan in it.
Hmm.
So that's going to production will start in July.
Hmm.
We're doing a bunch of movies. We just finished shooting a picture with Aparna Sen. She was in Delhi shooting, and now she's gone off to do post production. So that will be ready soon. We've got a couple of other movies coming up. We are working on some documentaries
Okay.
to do some animation. So yeah,
Wow.
we're doing all kinds of different things. We're trying to build out now Applause with different verticals. So there's series, there's
Hmm.
movies, there's documentary and infotainment, there's
Hmm.
animation, and then finally we look at gaming. So
Wow.
that's our sort of ambition and horizon. But
Wow.
of course, like everything else, from idea to execution is a lot of hard work.
Yeah. Pretty interesting catalog right now for Applause, and pretty interesting year for like the
Well,
next year, I think.
I hope so. I mean, let's see
Hmm.
how it all goes. You know,
Hmm.
the pandemic has come and put a spanner in everyone's works, but we'll see.
Are there any shows coming this year, sir? Like,
Yes, I think we will release City of Dreams season 2 will come out now. It's ready.
okay.
It got delayed because of these lockdowns and all that, but I think it will release now shortly.
Hmm.
Hello Mini season 3 came out, but
Right.
that happened. I think after that, Call My Agent will come. Then um, there are a few others. They'll come.
Hmm. Also, I wanted to ask, there is this one mythological period drama which will be produced by Applause by the name Taj. I read it on your website.
We were working on it. We have actually
Hmm.
done a lot of development on it. It's not
Hmm.
mythological, it's historical,
Okay,
and
historical.
based on the Taj, which
Okay.
sort of imagining the story. I mean, the whole Mughal story in a different light.
Okay.
It's really well written. We haven't. We were to get started shooting last year. Then this lockdown happened, so it got sort of held up. So we
Hmm.
are sort of waiting to figure out how to do that. But yeah,
Okay.
that's one of really wonderful show.
Yeah.
Similarly, there's another show that's been developed and is in our sort of in part of our development. It's
Hmm.
called Nawab, the Notch Girl, and the East India Drug Company. This is set
Wow.
in 1837, and it is a story about the growth, the East India Company growing opium in India and
Hmm.
trafficking it to China. And it's a real sort of an Indo-China kind of British Indo-China story, and it's quite
Okay.
expansive. So we are quite excited. We have finished the writing. We are trying
Hmm.
to sort of get a international partner for it.
Okay. Okay. Some massive projects, right?
Well, let's see.
Samir, it's very nice to hear this. I'm a retired UN civil servant who forayed into filmmaking after retirement.
Okay.
I did make, and the idea was to give the youngsters, young creative talent, a platform to go through.
Right.
Now, the issue which comes up and which will come up with all this thing is when independent producers or independent directors come in, he or she is putting in his money or her money or whatever it is. If they want to progress it and do what I want to do is to promote young and creative talent, I get something back? I'm not looking at massive profit. At least if you get your investment back, then you can put it to the next thing. And like you said, everybody has got very good stories to write. And my first production, of course, went to a lot of festivals. It has got an award and all that. But still, we are struggling to break into one of the OTT platforms. I mean, how does one go about it for distribution?
But it is a challenge. It's not, and there's no easy answer to this because which is why I guess what happens is that when you're investing money in content creation, it's really important to figure out who your eventual audience and what your eventual market is. I find oftentimes a lot of the independent producers and directors and the indies, if you call them, they tend to, in a way, essentially chase their heart. As in, this is a story that is in my heart and I want to tell it and all of that. But what happens is that, you may want to tell it, but nobody may want to hear it or see it. So I think that balance between creative and commerce is an important thing. Especially if you think that, okay, if I'm going to do this, I must get some return. So like, for example, in our studio, everything that we are planning to do, everything that we work on, we definitely put that filter on, that what is this going to cost us? Who are we making it for? Who would want to see it? Why this, why now? And for whom? So I think that's important. Sometimes I just find that the indie business becomes a thing of, I just want to do this, so I've done it, which is fine. And many times it works, but many times it doesn't. So, I think giving it that sort of business head is important.
Hello, Samir sir. I'm Ranjit Google.
Hi.
We met at Producerland in March.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. I produced few Marathi films and then we discussed a lot. Yeah. So just wanted to know, like now you are starting to do films also. So specifically you are thinking for a OTT release kind of content or you're looking for a big theatrical release kind of things?
But we are looking to do movies which, it's neither this or that. We are looking to tell good stories and we're trying to scale it in the right size. And then a lot depends, for things to go theatrical will depend on how the market is. Do the theaters open? What will be the crowd in the theaters at the time? Will there be a glut of cinema and therefore there will be too much traffic, or people will be just too scared to go to theaters? So I think that's a bit out. Our current approach is that we're trying to tell good stories that are set up well and within a reasonable budget. And then I think we'll take the theatrical decision later as to whether it goes. Then, of course, there are some movies that we are doing which are obviously, planned to go directly to a platform or go directly to a festival. So, so it's that kind of thing. Also, it's for us, it's early days. So it's not like we are going and taking off and straight away making Singham or Suryavanshi or something like that. So we are starting to tell, good, smart, intelligent, funny, more smaller stories, more sort of, more premium in that sense.
Yes.
So that's our sort of approach.
I wanted to ask you if someone has a full film already made, of course, an independent film, is it possible then they can approach Apollos and ask them to watch the film and come on board as co-producers or whatever? Is it possible to do that?
Yes, of course.
So whom should one contact for that?
You can write to me and I'll connect you with the rest of the team and then we'll look at it and then we'll see whether we want to be part of it.
Okay. So Samir, what would be your email ID or where
I think you can get it from Prathamesh and all, they have it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll share it later. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So there are a few questions from Bharat. So he's asking, like, in the current scenario, are stories set in socio-political situations which deal with religion, political subjects, etc. are encouraged?
Well, there's nothing about encouraged or not encouraged. The last one that was done in that genre created a lot of furor and there was a lot of, tandav around it. So, but I think it comes back to storytelling and how you're telling stories and, what sensitivity and what responsibility you have while telling the story. I don't think that anything is a no-no or a must-do. It's, everything. With the passage of time, everything happens. I think it's important of how these stories are told. Like, there was a wonderful movie called Article 15, which was socio-political, which had connotations of religion, of caste, of police atrocity, of, all of that, right? And it was a much applauded film. right?
Right.
There was more recently another film by Anubhav Sinha called Thappad, which
Hmm.
was about men and women and patriarchy and all of that, which
Hmm.
again was a much applauded movie. So I mean, I don't think it would be right to say that this is not a correct time for it. It's a question of how it's done and
Hmm.
how these stories are told. So yeah, I think there's definitely a market for socio-political, religious connotation, content. Depending on the fact that you're telling a genuine story and not telling something connected to religious connotation because it's volatile.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. And the next question from Bharat is there a genre requirement from applause? For example, like crime thrillers or young adult rom-com, etc.
Currently, at this point in time, I think everyone is looking for young adult and comedy.
Okay.
Everyone wants that because there's a lot of thriller, there's a lot of action, there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of crime. We do all of that.
Hmm.
Things that have not been done enough is obviously young adult, as in everyone
Hmm.
does it though. There's a lot of young adult as well. But comedy is something everyone always is looking for. Um,
Okay.
Horror is something that India has never done well. So, I mean, if it gets done, it gets done. But nothing like that. It's just, I think for India, it's really a blank canvas because you can tell so many different stories. We've had nothing. All that you've seen in 20 years is all the Saas Bahu shows on TV.
Hmm.
So, in that sense, you've got a real opportunity to tell so many stories.
Next question is in terms of length and number of episodes in a series, is there a gold standard, something that has proven to work?
Well, it used to be 10 episodes per season. Increasingly, we are thinking 6 to 8 is good. From an episode duration point of view, 30 to 40 minutes is a good duration. So it's that kind of combination.
Okay. And last question from Bharat is how much is figuring the budget of the content and is it a writer's or director's headache?
No, I think it becomes a producer's job, right? I mean, the producer will finally come to the conclusion of what the cost is. Um,
Okay.
Cost of any show will really depend on its eventual monetization, on what's the potential of it. So how much money we spend on a show will really depend on how much money we think we can actually sell it for. What kind of series, what kind of writing, what kind of cast, what kind of people, what kind of story, and therefore does it justify that cost? So I mean, listen, this is a creative business, but it is a business. That's why it's called show biz, right? So there is
Right.
biz in this. So I mean, there's no getting away from the fact that I'm a creative person and so I'll do whatever I want to and then पैसे का आप लोग देख लो ऐसा नहीं है,
Hmm.
right? So you have to have show and biz, in your
Right.
DNA. Otherwise, you're not going to really do very much.
There is this another question from like Facebook. Someone has joined from Facebook. So they're asking about documentaries. So Anita has asked, like, do you have a content filtering when a documentary filmmaker approach you with an idea? What are the parameters you have for the production of a documentary?
Well, at this point, we've only just started, so we are really interested in listening to all kinds of ideas. I think the documentary space is a very exciting space. It's a opportunity for us to tell all kinds of different stories that we can't do as scripted fiction drama, because there are many things which like historical accounts, true crime, some sort of a scandal. There are so many stories that can be told through a documentary lens, which you can't tell as a standard, sort of a scripted series kind of thing. So I think it's a really great opportunity. For us, it's new. So I have seen a lot of documentaries. We've seen all of this stuff on Netflix and Amazon and all of that. My father used to be in films division, so I've grown up watching documentaries. But I think at this point in time, we are open to all kinds of ideas and looking at what to do. And again, I mean, I think cost and budget will find its own sort of discovery. But yeah, we're very interested. We are very keen on building the document. I think the documentary space is something that can really become India's sort of real torchbearer.
Sir, this is Pradyum. So I think my question is more from a perspective of when you're doing a true story, I mean, like a show or a movie, does this, does the timing matters? So for example, I mean, Scam 1992 came in this year or last year, or, at the same time when this 26/11 attack happened, Ram Gopal Verma, he said that, I'll be making a movie on this. So is that, does it becomes a factor, in terms of your commercial benefit or in terms of popularity of the show? I mean, the right timing?
I don't know. I mean, the actual scam happened in 1992. So
Yeah.
by that logic, we are 30 years late. So I don't know about timing in that sense. The Uri attack happened some time back. The movie came, then the series came. So I don't know. I don't think it's like that. Also, the creative business, making a creative product will take its time. It takes that time. So if some incident happens today, no matter how fast you work, it will still take you 12 to 18 months to see it on screen. So I don't think that should be a filter that something has happened and it's a very hot subject, so let's do something about it. Also, what happens is usually when something like that happens, 4 or 5 people run at the same time to do it.
Yeah.
Right? So you're anyway stuck in some kind of a competitive thing. I think you should tell a story because you want to tell the story and it's an important story that needs to be told, not because the timing is right.
Sure. Thank you.
We also have a web series script written as of now. So if we would like to pitch it to Applause, so what is the requirement? We just have to share the script, or we would have to make the pilot and then come to you?
No, you don't have to make the pilot, but what you should do is you should make a sort of a proper pitch deck. So there is obviously the script, but you should have a story. You should have your sort of a layout of what your episodes are going to look like. An episode beat sheet, what kind of cast you want, what kind of zone. I mean, actually, as much detail and as much fleshing out you can do to your own idea, the easier it becomes for us to take a decision, right? So, what we do is we get the pitches which are very sketchy, like just one line, one idea. Yeah, idea. If you like it, I'll develop it. So then that becomes a little tricky because then you're expecting me to pay for the development, which I could or I could not, depending. So the thing is that if you put your time and effort and actually have fleshed out pitches, the chances of it being greenlit or approved is higher because it just goes to show that you have spent time and energy in thinking about what you want to make. So, like sort of figured, of course, at that time, we might still come and say that we want this change or that change or anything, but at least you've done your homework.
Yeah.
So I think all platforms, and I think I can speak for everyone in the industry, is that nobody likes a half-baked pitch.
Right.
It's like difficult to sort of judge it, and then if you think that you'll get time and, get a chance to talk about it and discuss it, it may not happen. Because sometimes what happens is, see, like in our team, we have a commissioning editor who gets like 100 pitches a week, right? So he can't give every pitch that time. So the things that really pop out in his life are the ones that go forward. And the ones that pop out either have an ultra unique idea. So we say, wow, we must hear more about this. Or it's a more well-developed, fleshed out kind of proposal.
Okay. All right.
So, I mean, that would be the way to do it.
My question to you was kind of a basic one. I wanted to know that by being a part of digital content production, like what are the day-to-day tasks which are involved in your in your regular work?
Well, it depends. There are different parts to it. There is a creative part to this business. So the creative business really is about the writing and the, getting that whole, the scripting process in place. Then you move to casting and production design and, preparing for the filming, then the actual production, which happens post-production. So it goes into that track. If you're on the business side of it, it's really about putting the proposals together, getting the budget sorted out, tracking the budget and the progress of what's going on, preparing for the eventual sale of this of the piece of content. If you're in marketing, it would be more about that we are now going to be doing this project, so you want to inform the world at large that you're doing it. You want to do some marketing and social noise around it. You want to track it as it goes along. You want behind the scenes footage. You want still pictures from the filming that is happening. You want to create press snippets and little birdie told me and all of that. And then later, once the show is licensed, then you want to work with the platform to market the show. So it depends really on what you're doing in this thing. So because all of these are little moving parts and all of them add up to the final, right? So, I mean, every part is important, I guess, because we are the business of making shows or making movies, creative sort of takes center stage. But I think all the parts around it are equally important. Contracting is a very big deal in our business. Just getting legal contracts right. Just ensuring that you have everything squared off, that you're not doing something wrong, that there's no error happening. I think budget control is a really important thing. because everyone can be creative and then everyone loses control and then you lose money. So I think budgeting and cost control, monitoring, all of that is very important. Logistics is very important. Marketing is very important. So yeah, I mean, all of these are important, and this is what my daily life is about.
Okay, so one question is from Bharat again. So he's asking, sir, can you broadly give us the contents that need to be in a show Bible?
A show Bible would have the logline of the show, as in, like what's the show about in a really simple, compelling line. Then a short concept note or a synopsis. Ideally, a 20-page story of what the story is about. Then from there on, like how many episodes, that kind of detail, episode duration, as in your head, what you're planning. And then beyond that, if you can also add to that episodic breakdown just of the story, as in what you call episodic beats. And then if you want to go further and write the screenplay of the first episode, then that's the complete Bible then. So, I mean, that's the Bible. So it's all of these little things, proposed cast, what kind of crew you want to work with. These are the elements. I mean, eventually you'll get to that point. So the question is, do you come with that fully thing sort of thought through and prepared, or you come piecemeal?
I would like to know about the return on investment on film, which a few OTT platforms take as a part of building their content library. There are few cases where films were released, but producers didn't get any substantial returns. Also, can you put up about what they offer in a basic remuneration when they buy an independent content?
I don't know. See, this is a tough one because films are bought as it's a demand and supply thing, and it's also a perceived need. So there are some of the bigger Hindi films that have been recently sold at pretty exorbitant prices to the platforms, and oftentimes independent films don't find a market, right? So that's a little difficult one to say. So I think it's a context of the need. So if a platform may often not take an independent film or a small film because they say that it doesn't fit us, no one's going to watch it. There's no discovery. We are not going to market it. It'll just get lost in our system. Why bother, right? So I think, the biggest problem with content, we talk about being in a highly connected world, and we talk about, there being so many opportunities and so many millions of viewers and phones and all of that. But the biggest challenge in all of this is discovery, right? So there are a billion pieces of content created every day, short form, mid form, long form, right? And they're all out there. TV is there, news is there, everything is out there. So there's a limit to what consumers can find and what consumers have the time for, right? So I think that plays a big part in the eventual selling of all of this, the discovery of it. So I think it's a difficult one. I get that, like what would be the right price? I have made an independent film, and what would be the right price for it? Hard to say. Very hard.
Okay. So it was a delightful experience to talk with you, sir. Thank you so much for your insight, time, and valuable learning experience for today. Really hoping for looking forward to some amazing applause-worthy content from the House of Applause. Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah. Take care, sir.
Thank you all.
Yeah.